Hey, it's me, Dave.
Who?
Now, first off, I am not a lawyer, and I'm definitely not a constitutional scholar. I'm just some dude sitting on his living room couch with an iPhone, a green screen, some Wi-Fi.
That's great.
And really bad hair. But guess what? I've written the next amendment to the United States Constitution. That's not too presumptuous, is it? Because I was thinking, and I'm certainly not the first to think this, there is a chink in our constitutional armor. And it's simply this: a sitting U.S. president can defy the United States Supreme Court. They do not have to follow their order. And the reason is simple. The United States Supreme Court doesn't have a police force or an army. The military, any police force, the Department of Justice, the U.S. Marshal Service, they all fall under the executive branch. So the U.S. Supreme Court is essentially toothless. From the time the U.S. Constitution was written up until now, we've only relied on norms.
You know, everybody?
No!
That a sitting U.S. president would say, okay, I don't agree with it, but I'll go along with you, SCOTUS. But they really don't have to. And there's some history behind this. President Andrew Jackson was handed down a decision from SCOTUS that he did not like. So he said of the Supreme Court Justice, John Marshall has made his decision, now let him enforce it. To paraphrase and not to use legalese, that's a you. But yours truly has come up with the Article 3 Compliance Clause. It would force a president of the United States to accept a Supreme Court decision at risk of losing office. Now, I know. At first blush, that sounds stringent, if not ham-fisted. Constitutionalists would say, hey, we already have the impeachment process, and even the U.S. Supreme Court might not like it, but I think they'd respect it because it would preserve their legitimacy. And impeachment can be slow and it's very political. And get this, no matter where you land on this wide political spectrum, it would benefit you. Okay, because if you identify as someone on the left, you wouldn't want a conservative president to just ignore the rule of law, right? And if you're on the right, you don't want a lefty president to just ignore a Supreme Court ruling. So that's why I've come up with this amendment. And it works like this. Section 1. A final judgment or order by the Supreme Court is binding upon the executive. Section 2. Congress decides that the president is willfully defying a Supreme Court order. A simple majority of the House of Representatives writes a petition back to the Supreme Court. Section 3. The Supreme Court decides if this petition meets a simple threshold. 2 prongs. First, was the original order final and unambiguous? 2, is the executive in compliance or not? Are they willfully defying this Supreme Court order or judgment? Section 4. Okay, and so if the petition does not meet this threshold, the court simply denies it with a written opinion. But if the petition does meet this threshold, then the court makes a declaration and sends it immediately to the United States Senate. Section 5 says that upon receipt of this declaration, the U.S. Senate convenes a trial in short order and without delay. It's limited to one question: should we remove the president from office? Okay, Section 6, and this is the one that leaves a mark. 2/3 of the senators present, and that's a pretty high bar, have to agree to remove the president. And if that supermajority finds the president guilty, his office is immediately vacated.
What are you doing?
Whoa, I know what you're saying. This is draconian. Removing the president? Yes. Because what this is a deterrent. A president will think twice. No, they'll think many times before taking on an authoritarian stance and refusing an order by the Supreme Court. So how do you ratify an amendment? Well, it's not easy to change our Constitution, and it's not supposed to be by design. But go ahead and Google it. It is a democratic process. And you know what else? I typed it all up for you. All you have to do is copy-paste. So there you have it. Article 3, the Compliance Clause. Filed humbly by a guy with an iPhone, a green screen, and bad hair. Well, The Founding Fathers wore powdered wigs, so come on.